Alright, so on this video you're going to kind of move your way toward learning how to build pieces of a recursive formula. I'll have another video for actually writing the recursive formula later. But right now it's just basically, do you know the terminology? Because it can get a little confusing if you're not familiar and comfortable with subscripts and variables. And so you got to trust me that you will get this, even if it looks foreign to you the first time you watch this video and you are tempted to just exit and not watch the rest of it and you don't think you'll ever get it. You will, but you have to have an open mind. So, like anything else I've taught you this year, I ask that you just trust me and allow me to get through to you. And if you still don't get it after rewatching this video, come see me and we can talk in person about it. But to kick it off, things that you should have learned from the last video that you watched about sequences, the basics. A sub n we call our current term usually, and usually that's the one you're looking for. So it'll say find a sub 7, that's your a sub n term, the current one you're looking for. A sub n minus 1 is the previous term, because to get from the current to the previous, you have to go back one, so that's where that minus 1 comes from, and we're about to explore that a little further. And then to get to your next term from your current, which remember is a sub n, you're going to add 1, so it's a sub n plus 1. Alright, so to give you a somewhat concrete example, still no numbers in our sequence, but we're going to just assume a sub 1 is some number, a sub 2 some number, and so on. So we're just going to use our sequence identifiers here. If I am looking at a sub n as my current term, my a sub n equals a sub 5, my fifth term, and I want to go to my previous term, I've got to go back to a sub 4. Look at where my red arrow is right here. So I'm going back 1, because if you look at how we're counting our sequence, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on, so on. So to go back from 5 to 4, I've got to subtract 1 from 5, which is my n. So that's where we get that our previous term is a sub n minus 1. Alright, but what happens if we start calling our current term something that's not a sub n? What happens if we maybe decide to call it a sub n plus 1, because nobody ever set a rule for it? Alright, we don't always have to have a sub n being the current term. So if a sub n plus 1 is my current term and I want to go to my previous, I still need to subtract 1 from my current term, which means I need to subtract 1 from my subscript. Well, 1 minus 1 is 0, so that's why we're left with a sub n. Likewise, if I want to go to the right, I've got to add 1 to my subscript, because that's going to the next term, so it'll be a sub n plus 2. I'm adding 1. Alright, so it's just adding and subtracting 1 each time. So here's a table to kind of help you. To get from the current in the middle to the next column over here on the right, you're adding 1 to the subscript. Alright, and then to go backwards, a previous term, you need to subtract 1 from the subscript. So this table helps you to see just how we're manipulating stuff. All it is plus 1 minus 1. And all this is being done to the subscript. So keep that in mind. Alright, so be careful that you're not writing this, a sub n, and then big minus 1. Alright, the minus 1, if it's being subtracted, needs to be down here with the n. Alright, so pause on here and take a look at this if you need to. But if you think you're ready and you understand the table, go ahead and try to fill this out. Same idea as the previous table, but see what you can come up with, and pause right here and come back in a minute. Alright, here's your answers. So you're adding 1 to get to the next, so I put the adding on here. I didn't do the subtraction, but just imagine these plus 1s I've drawn in actually were minus 1s to go back previous term. But you should be getting these. All it is just manipulation, plus 1 minus 1, plus 1 minus 1. So you can call your current term anything, and I need y'all to know that, because on the test they may just throw you a curveball and say that a sub n is not your current term, and that they're going to call your current term a sub n plus 2 or something. So you just got to be ready for anything. But all you got to do is remember the pattern. Patterns make up math. Alright, so plus 1 to get to your next term, minus 1 to get to your previous term. Alright, so until next time, keep practicing.